Hi everyone, I'm Yolanda, and in today's tutorial I will be making a chocolate cake filled and covered with basil buttercream, topped with ganache, and decorated with roses. You will find all the information on this cake in the information window of this video. So let's get started. For the decoration that I'm going to be doing on this cake, I want the surface of the cake to be very flat, and also I want sharp edges. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some buttercream and spreading it on top of a piece of wax paper. The dimension is the size of the cake, and so I'm going to build up my cake on top of this buttercream, and then when I'm done covering the cake, completely covering the cake, I will freeze it, and then I will bring it out of the freezer, flip over the cake, and the paper will be on top. I will just remove the paper, and that will give me a perfect flat surface with sharp edges. And now I'm filling my cake with some basil buttercream, and the extract that I use is a basil extract made by the Wilton Corporation, and that line is called Treatology. They have a lot of flavorings that you can use for your cake. You may find this in any store, any Michael's or AC Moore, or you can purchase it from my store. I left you the link in the information window of this video. Now that I filled the cake with the buttercream, what I'm doing right now is just removing the excess. I want to remove all the excess from the buttercream that I filled the cake with. I just want my surface to be free of any excess. And now I'm going to put it in my freezer for 15 minutes. And now I just brought out my cake from the freezer. I'm going to crumb coat it now, so all the crumbs will be sealed and no crumbs will be showing through the buttercream, or if you're going to use fondant, it will not show through the fondant. That's why it's very important that you use a crumb coat, especially if your cake is dark like my cake, because it's chocolate, of course. And that's why crumb coating the cake before you give it a final coat is very important. After I finish applying the crumb coat, I will bring it into the freezer for another 15 minutes. And here is my cake after it was in the freezer for 15 minutes. I brought it out. Now I'm giving it a final coating. Remember that I'm going to flip over this cake, so really the top does not have to have a lot of buttercream, because this is going to be at the bottom. And so I'm going to finish covering my cake all throughout the surface. And finally, I'm going to finish smoothing the cake. I'm going to use hot water to dip my spatula. First, I dip it and then I dry it, and then I will smooth the surface. This will help the butter and the shortening to melt a little, and so the surface would be smoother. And after I finish smoothing out the surface, I will freeze the cake again for another 15 minutes, and then I will flip it over, remove the paper, and start decorating. As you can see on the side, my cake has been flipped, sharp edges, and now I have here a ganache. For a recipe on how to make a ganache, please see my video. I've left the link to that video. Now I'm going to use a pastry bag, and I'm going to drizzle the ganache all around the border of the top of the cake, and then I'm going to continue decorating from there. If you want your ganache to be drizzled on over the cake going down, then you apply more pressure to the pastry bag. And if you want less drizzling, then you decrease the pressure when you pipe with the pastry bag. It's all up to you. And what I like to do now, I like to spread some of the ganache on top of the cake. I'm going to use this spoon to spread it out, and then I'm going to smooth it out using a small spatula. Now I'm going to prepare a large pastry bag, and I'm going to fit it with a large coupler. This size, look how big this coupler compared to the regular coupler. The reason that I'm doing that is because I'm going to use a large tip. I'm going to use tip 125, and I will probably use a Russian tip. So just in case I use more than one tip, I'm using a coupler. Otherwise, I would have just used the pastry bag with the tip inserted in the pastry bag without coupler. But since I'm using probably two tips, I'm going to use a coupler. I have separated a portion of the buttercream that I use for covering my cake. Now I tinted it with pink color. This is also from the Wilton Corporation, and this is what I'm going to use to pipe some roses. Make sure that you do not overfill your bag, otherwise you will not have control over it. And so we take tip number 125 with the white end of the tip down, and as we turn our nail, we pipe the buttercream, the icing, to make a cone. We need to build a strong cone so that way our rose will not fall off. So now in the first row we are going to pipe 3 petals. You start moving your tip up and down to form each petal. On the second row we are going to pipe 5 petals and then 7 on the last row. Always cleaning your tip so that way you do not drag icing to your next petal. And my rose is almost complete. Look how beautiful it's turning out to be. And that's it. I will then pop this in the freezer for 15 minutes and then we will apply it to our cake. Now that my roses are frozen, I'm going to pipe a mound of buttercream in the middle of the cake. This will give the roses some height. And look how easy those roses come off the paper once they are frozen. You saw that? That's why you need to freeze your roses or flowers when you make them with buttercream. Look at that. So all the decorations are done on this cake. Let me explain to you what I did. I piped some roses as you saw and I froze them. Then I brought them out. I placed them on a mound of buttercream. Then I used my Russian tip and I also piped small roses next to the large roses. I then used some of the buttercream. I tinted it with leaf green and I added a drop of black coloring, and that gave me that shade of green. Then using my Russian tip again, I made a border of small roses for the border of the cake at the bottom, and look how beautiful they came out. This is all that I did to decorate this cake. But the cake is nice and simple and beautiful. Well, this has been all for today. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you visiting. I hope that you share this video, and if you like my tutorials, you can subscribe to my channel. I will see you back here again next week with another tutorial. In the meantime, God bless you.